Did that?
I did.
How was it?
It was very beautiful, and the welcoming was so overwhelming that it's going to be with me the rest of my life.
How's your mother? How's she doing?
And they're down there right now. You're their favorite show.
Thank you.
My brother Chuck and my brother John, Jackie. I just talked to you a few minutes ago. He's a reverend now, and the whole family, everyone down in Chapelaya. They're looking at us right now, and they wanted me to tell you they love you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I love them for loving me. Let me start by talking about this name thing, first of all. I've had a chance to spend a few hours with you today, and I learned something that I didn't even know, and that is that you changed your name a long time ago.
A long time ago.
The media insists on calling you Geronimo Pratt. I have even fallen into that trap of calling you Geronimo Pratt. Tell me what your name is, when you changed your name, why you changed your name, and why you think the media persists on calling you by Pratt.
Well, I changed my name in '68 after I learned that this guy Pratt was a very evil person in Terrebonne Parish. And so I did some checking, and I found that some of my ancestors who had Creek blood, native Creek blood, had cohabitated with some Jagas, the Jaga people from West Africa, who settled in the Chapelaya swamps. All throughout the Creek Nation, from the Everglades in Florida to the Chapelaya and Tombigbee swamps. So I changed my name in 1968 to Geronimo G. Jaga, which means Geronimo of the Jaga Nation. Then I did it again in '88 because it seems like the powers that be didn't like to recognize that. They prefer you to use your slave name, similar to Toby and the Roots.
Miniseries, sure.
Right, in which they told him, no, you Toby. He's trying to tell him I'm Kunta Kinte. Names are very important to our historical personality. And we believe that by us having these bifurcated names, these alienating names, that it really causes schizophrenia, a certain kind of schizophrenic thing among our people that causes problems that we can resolve by just regaining our, like Amilcar Cabral calls, our historical personality. And once we get one with our historical personality, we achieve that oneness that erases that two-ness that divides.
Well, out of respect for you, we are going to change your name for the rest of this show. We are doing a one-hour special. I should tell you, for those who just tuned in, we're joined tonight by Geronimo G. Jaga. I hope I remember to say that the rest of the show.
That's right.
Joins us tonight here in studio with us, Johnny Cochran, his co-counsel, in this case, joins us live from New York. We'll get to Johnny in just a second, but we are going to change Geronimo's name for the rest of this show out of respect for him. And now you know to call him Geronimo G. Jaga when you see him in person. Having said that, let me ask you, Geronimo, whether or not you ever thought in 27 years in prison, 8 years in solitary confinement, as Johnny Cochran has told us time and time again on this program, did you ever give up hope that you would ever be released?
Well, that question's been asked to me a lot. You have to understand, I joined the movement with the knowledge that we were going to be killed, driven underground, run out of the country, or in prison.
When you say the movement, you're talking now about the Black Panther movement, for those who don't know the story.
No, I'm not talking about the Black Panther movement. That's
okay.
a big mistake that we make in history.
Right.
We reduce everything to the Panther Party. The Black Liberation Movement consisted of a wide, range of organizations who participated and contributed to where we're at now. Our adversaries had a tendency to just paint everything Panther. If you were if you were FOI, Panthers did this. They weren't Panthers. If you were RANA, Panthers did that. When it goes to the newspapers, we knew the difference. We were all brothers and loved each other. But when you allow your adversaries to write your history, then that's when we make the mistake.
Why do you think that was done, though? Why do you think that everything reported by the media and other institutions and organizations were labeled as Panther activities? Why do you think that was done?
It's an old rules, old technique that they use to lump everything together, to stereotype things in order to dehumanize you easier in order to attack you. It happens in all struggles that when we allow our enemies to define our reality instead of defining it ourselves. We defined it, but we didn't have to press. We didn't have the power to put it out, the true definition, so they overwhelmed us with this, and their mistakes became truths.
Okay, let's take a break here. When we come back, And by the way, as I said earlier, we are going to spend a full 1 hour tonight with our special guest, Geronimo Jijaga. You know him as Geronimo Pratt. We're going to spend a full hour with Geronimo tonight, and his co-counsel, Johnny Cochran, joins us live from New York. When we come back, I want to ask Johnny what got him so passionate about this case in the first place, why he took it on, and why for 27 years he stayed with this case. For the full hour tonight, we'll take your phone calls. Stay with us. We're back on the other side of this break. What, in the first place, made you take this case on? Go back 27 years. Tell us why you took this case, why you were so passionate about it then, and why you stuck with this thing for 27 years.
Well, Geronimo and I had met in another trial, the so-called L.A. Panther shootout case that at the time was the longest trial in L.A. history. We tried that case, I believe, in 1969 or so, 69 or 70, and Geronimo and I got to know each other. Later on, I was appointed to represent him by Judge Kathleen Parker in the so-called Santa Monica Tennis Court murders. And from the very beginning, I believed that Geronimo Pratt was innocent. He said he was innocent, and everything pointed to that. And so I believed in that. And, you know, we had one of the key things that really bound us early on was that Geronimo Pratt was real young, 20, 21 at the time. But he would always say to me, Cochran, they're out to get us. And I would say with skepticism, what are you talking about, they? Who are you talking about? What do you mean by that? And so, and I would accuse him of being paranoid in a kind of a joking way. But as the time passed by, I was this older lawyer. I was in my 20s, but I was older than he was. At any rate, he was right. They were out to get him. We couldn't put a name on it at the time, but he was a victim of the FBI's counterintelligence program. And so one of the things you do when you have a client that you really believe in, who is innocent, you believe he's innocent, and with all your heart you believe that, and we became not only a client lawyer, we became friends and we became brothers, you continue to fight. And with the help of Stuart Hanlon, a great amount of help from Stuart Hanlon, we got this information from the Freedom of Information Act from the FBI, which revealed that Geronimo was in fact right. He was a victim of the FBI's counterintelligence program, and they were out to get him. So we kind of kid each other now when I say he was right and I was wrong. And you know, that experience made me a much better lawyer. It made me question the official view. But over the years, I remember the first time I went to see Geronimo Pratt, after he was convicted in July of 1972. And I remember him saying to me, you know, don't forget me, Cochran. And I never did, and I never would. And, you know, this was just a situation where we could not rest until he was free.
And those who've read your book, Journey to Justice, know that you start out the preface of your book, spending the entire preface, quite frankly, talking about this case. And this is the case that meant the most to you, despite the fact that most of us know you because of the O.J. case.
That's true. This was the most important case in my life, and the day that Geronimo Pratt was released from custody was the most important and satisfying victory of my whole life.
Let's take some phone calls. We have got a lot to talk to Geronimo Jijaga about tonight, but we'll start with our phone calls tonight in California. Molly, thanks for holding. You're on BET Talk.
Hello, Tavis.
Hello.
Johnny Cochran and Geronimo Jijaga.
Hello, how are you doing?
All right, congratulations to both of you. And I know tomorrow's OJ's birthday, Johnny, so congratulations. What a present for you.
Okay.
My comment to you is that both of you know that we as grassroots organization, and the grassroots organization, Front Page, Talk Radio, we have followed you for 27 years. How much did this help to get you released, Geronimo Jijaga, and how helpful was it to you, Johnny Cochran? I'll listen to your comments off the air because the struggle continues, but always, to God be the glory.
Molly, thanks for your phone call. I think what she's asking, Geronimo, is how important was the media, the black media, in helping you get released? How important was the black media in getting the story and keeping it out there during the entire time you were incarcerated?
I think it was very important, very essential for a lot of developments. I think I would have been murdered in prison quite a number of times if black media wouldn't have come through.
You believe that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But they also were targeted by COINTELPRO. This war, this secret war, was very vicious, and I think it was worthy of much more study than has been done thus far.
Right. Let's talk to Debbie in North Carolina. Debbie, thanks for holding. You're on BET Talk.
Yes, hello. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Why did it take so long for you to, you know, get out? Didn't they have enough evidence? Because that's my first question.
Okay. Her question is why it took so long, you think, for you to finally be released?
Well, first of all, you have to understand, I did not, the police and FBI, they knew that I did not do the murder. So they were keeping me in prison because of my political beliefs and my convictions and my activities for the furtherance of our liberation. So they used the murder as a ruse, a front, to justify keeping me in there so long. A person, in other words, who would do a murder that I was accused of doing would only do no more than 10, 12, 15 years at the most. And that's, you know, given at the most. So that shows you right there, I was not kept in prison because of the murder. They knew I didn't do the murder. I was kept in prison because of my convictions and my dedication to the liberation of our people.
Can I answer
Sure.
on that?
Sure.
And to the caller's question, Geronimo's absolutely right. What happened was that he was basically a political prisoner. He's been so named by Amnesty International, and of course, even before they named him, we knew that at any rate. Geronimo went up for parole some 16 times. He didn't want parole because he was innocent. So he was in a catch-22, and he would always turn down any parole because he wasn't going to ever say he was guilty of a crime he did not commit. But this was part of when J. Edgar Hoover said to neutralize certain groups, to wit the Black Panther Party. That meant in the case of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, kill them. In the case of Geronimo Pratt, it meant lock him up forever. And what happened, what we saw in the course of all the writs that were brought, was a recalcitrance on the part of the powers that be. Judges, prosecutors, no one had the courage to step forward and say, this man is innocent and should be out. They knew a long time ago he was innocent. We had 2 FBI agents in 1979 said they had seen logs which showed that Geronimo Pratt was in Oakland at the time of these alleged crimes.
Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to pick right back where we're leaving off here, and that is to ask you, Geronimo, why in 16 appearances before the parole board, when you could have perhaps said something that would have led to your earlier release, why you decided to stick with your story and spend even extra years, as it were, behind prison bars. We'll get your response to that, and of course more of your phone calls for our guest tonight, Geronimo Jijaga, and his attorney and friend Johnny Cock, and we're back on the other side of this break. Because Geronimo, I promised to ask you when we came back, you went before the parole board some 16 times. Each time you went before them, you stuck with your story. You said, I'm innocent. Why didn't you alter your story? I understand principle, and I believe in it. I think most of us do. But you proved your point. Why didn't you at some point say what needed to be said just to get out of that hellhole, as it were?
Well, first of all, you have to understand where I was raised by my mother and by the people where I'm from, is that you stick with the truth. And when they accused me of being a murderer, they accused my mother of raising a murderer. They accused everyone I knew. So you looked at all that. I was not about to abandon the truth just to get out of prison. So I stuck with my principles and was steadfast with that. I didn't go to the board for 16 times. I would refuse to go to the board.
Okay. They
would have board appearances, and I would not attend. In around 88, Harry Reasoner and Lowell Bergman from 60 Minutes came to prison and asked me to please go to the parole board so we can show the nation why you don't go, essentially. So I went that time, and that's what you saw in 60 Minutes in 1988 when the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office straight before the cameras stated that the reason why they were not releasing me was because I was not a murderer, but because I was a revolutionary man, and I quote that. And it's in, and Johnny may want to...
Johnny, at any point in time while your client and friend was behind bars, did you ever advise him that maybe it made some sense to change his story just so he could get out?
No, because he's always been a man of principle. And I must say, myself and Stuart Hanlon and others on the team, we drew strength from Geronimo Pratt, because you got to understand, a man who could spend 8 years in the hole in the toughest prisons in the United States, and especially in California, who had the principle to do this, we worked with him, and it was so heart-wrenching and disappointing to see these writs turned down, because there was enough evidence a long time ago to let him go, but nobody had the courage really to do that until we got this judge in Orange County, Judge Everett Dickey, who stepped up and he was what a judge ought to be.
Penny in Indiana, thanks for holding. You're on BE.